And we'd also like to focus on the local aspect of this. For local voters and local viewers, what is the importance on a local level of getting involved with the fair money and the campaign finance reform issues?
Well, if people will support Prop 15, they will dramatically increase the chances that they will have other public funded races to be able to vote on in the future. If Prop 15 goes down, I think it's going to be very difficult for us to revive public funding for quite some time. But if they do that, you may find it happening at the local level, you may find it happening with all the assembly members, and everybody would benefit from that if that happens.
Now, has California had a similar proposition? Have there been previous attempts to pass public financing?
Well, a few years ago we had Prop 89, which was put on the ballot by the California nurses, and that would have established a complete system of public campaign financing. The voters weren't ready for it. They were not educated. They didn't understand what that meant. And of course, the corporations came out with their TV, citizens against whatever it is, or citizens for whatever it is. And you know, they make up their bogus 527s, and then they were able to dissuade the public to vote for it. Now we hope that this time we are doing a better job educating the public. We have a limited pilot program. Let's try it. Let's see. If there was ever an office that needed to have no appearance of special interest corruption, it's the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is the office that oversees our elections, that makes sure that there is honesty in government, and really has that as one of their main charges. And so having a Secretary of State who is not beholden to either side, then that gives the public, first of all, the understanding of how important it is to allow this as an option. Then that begins to pave the way toward the idea of, hey, let's have this as an option for every elected office, local, state, and national, because it is the corruption everywhere. We are corrupted in Santa Clarita with developer money, and they outspend, you know, water board candidates or city council candidates 10, 20, 30 to 1, because they can put as much money as they want to. I do want to clarify that in California, our campaign finance laws are so weak that the power of corporate money is much more powerful than it has been with the McCain-Feingold federal laws. This Supreme Court decision is really chopping McCain-Feingold off. That was an attempt by the Congress to, in some way, restrict the power of big money. And there was.
You make a good point, though, Carole. Yeah. In California, the corporations were already out of control.
Exactly.
And the union spending was already dominant.
Right.
So we may not see as big of influence in California in statewide politics as we will in the rest of the country.
Yeah, but we have to do this, because if not, you have to think about, are we going to have the great senator from Exxon and the great senator from Halliburton, and is that how we're going to have, I mean, is that the future of our democracy? That's, I don't think, what our founding fathers wanted.
Well, we do want to talk a little about the limitations, and Steve, you have mentioned that as well. What about the fact that sometimes a candidate may choose to bust the spending cap or decide that they don't want to take public money? What does this particular Proposition 15 that voters will be able to vote on June 8th, how does that deal with the fact that some candidates may choose to forego public money?
Well, it sets up a system. Ideally, you want all the candidates running to be publicly funded, because then they all have the same cap, and you don't have to use too much of the public's money. You know, in this situation, about $1 million in the primary for each candidate running for the Secretary of State. That's pretty, that's not too much money for the whole state of California. But if a candidate decides that they don't want to voluntarily agree to this, and they outspend the other candidate, then on a one-to-one basis, public money will come in. So if you voluntarily agreed to $1 million and Carole decides to run against you and spend $4 million, you will get an additional $3 million that will come in all the way up to the $4 million. Now if she spends $10 million, you're going to be limited to just the $4 million. But at least there is a significant attempt to try to help but it does mean it's more expensive. When one person breaks it, then it actually makes it more expensive for others.
And we expect that. That's a free speech issue. The reason that this has been able to become established in 5 states and 2 cities and a county is that it does not violate free speech. And it has been tested, you know, the courts have tested this. So people can elect to run with public campaign financing, or they can elect to run traditionally taking money from wherever they want it, you know, and generally it's been the big money that gets people elected. So it is a matter of choice, and there will be candidates that will decide that they want not to have to take public money, and that's perfectly okay. That's why the beauty of this, it has been tested for 10 years in other places, and so we do know that the kinks have been worked out, and we do know that this is a model that works.
Now in this, oh, I'm sorry.
Kiki, I don't want to steal your thunder, but before we run out of time, I think it's really important for residents in Ventura County who are watching this show, if they want to get involved and help with this campaign, this is going to be one of the most important votes that we will make, I think, for a long time in California for June 8th. We're having what's called a passion fundraiser, and I've got a flyer right here, and I don't know if the TV can focus on that, but I'll read it to people also. But it's on Sunday, March 14th, at the Camarillo Library in Camarillo, right in the middle of the county, 4101 Las Posas Road. I think I'm remembering that right from here, and that's from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We will have a couple of assembly members. Julia Brownlee will be there. Pedro Nava is hopeful that he can be there. It's going back and forth. 3 Ventura County supervisors will be there speaking, and many dozens of organizations are co-sponsoring this. This is the one place we want to try to kick this effort off in Ventura County. We hope that people try to make it if they can.
And I wanted to make sure that people knew that they could go to the public campaign finance website, which I think will come at the end, and watch the Bill Moyers film that was made about 4 years ago. It's called The Road to Clean Elections. But it's about a 10-minute film, and it really gets you an understanding about what we're talking about. And they interview Republican and Democratic legislators from Maine and Arizona, and it really does help to actually see what we mean by public campaign financing.
Well, I think it's really important for people to know about other cases where public financing has been done and done successfully. I know that some of these other cases have actually produced some interesting results where it's resulted in more diversity in the types of candidates running. Would you like to talk about that, Steve, at all? Some of the other benefits of these?
Well, they've been shown that they have more women, they have more minorities, they have more divergent kinds of views. People are not lockstep. The problem now with our two-party system is that we've got the Grover Norquist shrink government so small you can drown it in the bathtub Republicans, and then fighting against the union lover Democratic Party. You know, I mean, you've got this polarization, and when you break the money, you know, when you break the ties, and of course the Democratic Party is on record of strongly supporting this, and when you break those, and many unions, AFSCME and many unions also want to break the tie of big money. But when you break that, you begin to have people who are not so rigidly controlled by their funders' agenda. And so I believe that it is the real way for us to bring balance. You know, the Greeks told us, nothing in excess, moderation in all things. And what we have now is such a polarization, and it is so divided at this point. And I really have a lot of faith that public campaign financing can really help us restore our democracy.
Well, let's hope so. Now, we're going to be closing this out because we don't have a lot of time left, but are there any additional things you wanted to raise about public financing? Obviously, this has been a very important issue for you.
The thing that I want to raise is if somebody has stayed with us for the half hour of this show, I sure hope that they'll make the effort to vote, because June will be a low voter turnout. We want a lot of people to vote June 8th.
And are there additional websites that you would direct people to if they want additional information about this issue?
www.yesfairelections.org, or just Google clean money or Google California fair elections.